Thanks. Sorry. We are live.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this special meeting of the Yellow Springs Board of Education here on Monday, December 28th. Good Lord, 3 blessed days left of 2020. We have one item on our agenda today to discuss, which we'll get to in just a moment. I want to say hello to everybody who might be joining us via our stream and to remind people that at this session, we will not have the community comments function enabled. This is not a regularly scheduled board meeting, so that function is not turned on. So with that call to order, let's call the roll, please.
On.
Here.
Mohammed. Here. Ellison. Present. McQueen. Turner.
Here. Okay. Thank you for that. And yes, having just acknowledged the person's presence, whoever you might be, and again, welcome, thank you for joining us. We'll move on to our sole item of business here, and that's under Superintendent's recommendations, a recommendation to approve a pre-bond architect for our facilities project. So, Terry, I'm going to turn this over to you, and you can walk us through it.
Thank you, Steve, and board. I'm going to have Stephanie share a table, a comparison table. On December 10th, we had our pre-bond architect interviews with Richley and Associates and SHP Leading Design. And so it was Tammy and myself and the principals and maintenance and business affairs, and Stephanie. I asked Stephanie to sit in as well. And both firms presented, honestly, very well thought out presentations. But before I go into the spreadsheet, I just want to remind you of what the purpose of a pre-bond architect is. So we are working with the OFCC in the ELP program. And so we're to the stage where we seek the services of a pre-bond architect. A pre-bond architect, the task is to assist us in master facilities planning. So it's knowing that at some point in the future, we are going to have a bond issue on the ballot, but helping us as a school community and a local community really go through a process to decide what are our educational needs, what is the community input and support of the master facilities plan. So it's really to design that. It's not so much right now to design buildings. that piece really more specifically comes later, but it's everything that leads us up to the bond issue on the ballot. There are a lot of processes in place that we have to follow, and so once we have a successful bond issue, at that point, then we seek the services of a firm to assist with the actual construction. So this is really, I think, what I would call, stage one of a two-stage process. But it's the purpose is to help us create our master facilities plan and to assist us in timelining the project and thinking about funding, just kind of assisting us in checking the boxes that we need to check as we proceed forward. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So,
can I just underscore a couple of things? First, thank you very much for reminding people that as we go through this process, it will not end in a building design. It ends in planning. Should the bond pass, and we certainly hope that it will, at that point, we get to the building design, and that may or may not be done by the firm we choose today. We will go through a second process after the bond passes of selecting an architect who will actually design the buildings, the facilities themselves. So, sorry.
No, that's absolutely correct. What it will do is allow us, again, as a school community to say, okay, we want 2 buildings, we want 1 building, we want this configuration. I mean, it you design your master facilities plan. But it does not do, okay, now that we want this, here's what it's going to look like, or here's the, just that comes later.
Right.
Okay. So what I have here is a table, and I have, I don't know, 5 or 6 categories, and then I've provided responses for each, and this is called from the presentations that we sat through, and the response, the input feedback from the interview team. So, you know, we looked at what is the history of the firm, what are their qualifications. Both firms are qualified. They look completely different. You know, Ridgely was involved in the 2018 bond issue, and they were, I believe, hired in 2016 to start that process. They are from Dayton. They specialize in K-12 and library work, and they, you know, so because they're from Dayton, they're a little closer to us. SHP Leading Design has been around for a while. They're certainly larger than Ridgely. In their words, they operate like a small firm. They take the schoolhouse of quality approach, which is really kind of how do you do some TQM stuff when you're looking at facilities. Their team is large enough to support our needs simply because they have more principals than Ridgely, and they operate in the Columbus, Dayton, Cincinnati area. So we want to embark on an ELP project with UFCC. So what was important for us was to determine what experience each firm had with working with OFCC, what experience they had with working with ELP projects. So both have had some experience. Ridgely has worked with Kettering was one example they noted on a public-private partnership. SHP Leading Design has had significant experience, and they have had 25 pre-bond contracts, meaning they've been involved in the last 5 years in 25 master facilities planning projects, and they've completed 102 buildings in 23 ELP projects. Stephanie, can you shift down a little bit? So one of the questions was, what is your process you were proposing that we would go through for this pre-bond phase? So Ridgely actually spoke more to design than the actual pre-bond process. It's not that they didn't speak to it, they did, but they focused a lot on design. But their process is 5 steps. So inform, you know, here are the facts, consult, obtain public feedback. I think 2 and 3, consult and involve, reflect community aspirations. How do you engage the community, right? 4, collaborate with the district in creating the master facilities plan. And then 5 is really empowering the public at the ballot box. And they did discuss kind of the reset process in their minds. Here is what would be different. Here is how we would reset from last time. SHP emphasized that it's a community-driven process without a predetermined outcome. So how do you bring everybody involved to create your master facilities plan without having something in mind at the beginning that you just drive through? Throughout their presentation, they identified that they want to be educationally fantastic, financially responsible, and community developed and supported. And then they approach master facilities planning or this pre-bond process and how do you provide education about the process? How do you discuss based upon, and not only education about the process, but for them that education piece is what's important about education in the district and how does that drive your master facilities plan? Then again, so that's the bridge from 1 to 2 with facilities. 3 is finance, and then 4 is community. For the visioning and community engagement piece, which we know is just so critical, Ridgely included a general timeline. in saying COVID requires a different engagement strategy from last time. I think we've seen that in all aspects of our lives. And then these are some engagement methods that they would use: online committee meetings, data walks, video meetings, SurveyMonkey, and phone entries. SHP included a timeline that was a bit more detailed. They actually have an educational visioning team that works with districts about what is to help really kind of get to those kernels of what's important educationally in the district and how's that going to impact facilities. Students are involved. They had 3 steps: confirm and clarify, develop and refine, and then ideate and conceptualize. They're big proponents of storytelling. How do you tell the story of the district? And then some of their engagement methods were virtual town halls, Poll Everywhere. Can you scroll down, Steph? And then, okay, so what about the aesthetics? What about the design? So we talked about how the building both really identified that buildings can be teaching tools. So how do you design or construct a building so that all aspects of it not only serve the schoolhouse purpose, but also serve the educational purpose? Here's some examples of Richley's projects. So Northmont, the Arts Edition and renovation at Oakwood, Northwest Public Library, Bethel Local High School Edition. They did a whole pre-K at Milton Union, Fairmont High School Auditorium, Northeastern Pre-K-12, and Kenton Ridge Pre-K-12. Those are both projects that they are currently engaged in that will not be finished, I believe, until 23 and 24. SHP, they work with schools to help them become designated as high-performance learning environments. They emphasize that they were not a cells and bells type of company, meaning we don't approach this like traditional education. Again, this emphasis on the building as teaching tool like Richley. And then they approached the aesthetics in 4 areas. So what are our eat and drink areas? What are our show and tell areas? What are our inside and outside areas? And what are our community and culture areas? And then their examples are Ridgemont Local K-12, Beaver Creek K-8, and then some design thinking labs for Beaver Creek. Winton Woods K-6 and 7-12. They are currently involved in the master facilities process at Shawnee. And so they reference that future Shawnee website, Dayton Regional STEM School, Miami Trace, Southwestern, and Harrison Hills Pre-K-12. And then lastly, really, it's, conservation, sensitivity to the environment, having a low carbon footprint. I think all of those things are important here in Yellow Springs. And so that leads us to LEED qualifications. When you work on any ELP project, it's already designed to be LEED Silver. So that's the minimum. So the question was, do you have LEED certified professionals? Do you do LEED projects? How have you addressed this conservation and sustainability piece? And so Washington Courthouse, Richley did some work for them with geothermal schools. Milton Union, the whole thing was a Green Schools project that was done in about 2012. And then SHP has done quite a few LEED projects. And they have someone, again, they're bigger, and they have someone who's just dedicated to sustainability and building design. They did emphasize that it's really the community values that drive the guiding values in this area. So it's really a reflection of the community about what's important. So that's kind of the overview.
Right.
Questions?
Well, I guess I just want to confirm with you, Terry, that you found both of these presentations.
Just a little. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I just wanted to have you underscore, you were impressed with both of these presentations?
I was absolutely impressed with both of the presentations.
Yeah. I will just say personally that I took a peek from the outside at a couple of these projects from both firms, and you know, they're wonderful buildings to look at from the outside. I couldn't sneak in, but yeah.
So you might have said this, but my connection is kind of unstable, so I missed. What does it mean to designate it a high-performing learning environment, the SHP piece?
Yeah, that's something coming from the state. And honestly, it's new to me, and so I don't know a lot about it, but it piqued my interest.
Yeah, I had not heard that previously, so I was curious.
And I guess in my current state of, I anticipate, as I find out more about it, I anticipate it being kind of along the lines of Ohio's kind of innovative schools push, and how does design support learning.
Okay, makes sense.
Terry, I think Winton Woods is among the projects listed there. Are you familiar with those facilities?
Yeah. So, you know, that wasn't my role at Winton Woods, but as a member of the executive team, you know, I was involved in some meetings with this. So I certainly was involved in the master facilities planning, so that I can speak to. And it was honestly pretty comprehensive. Winton Woods went at this for a long time because they anticipated going to the ballot and then did it several times. So SHP was with the district during that entire time. But I think what struck me about that is that students were so intimately involved in saying, here is what we need in the buildings in which we live every day.
Great.
Yeah. And those buildings, I think, are slated to open this spring.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
That's cool.
Other questions about the grid here?
I just found it very, very helpful. So appreciate you putting that together that way. It was easy to read and understand.
Yep, absolutely. Well, okay, let's move on then.
Okay. So I think in light of that, if there are no other questions, I'm going to make a recommendation to the board. Again, very difficult to make, and I want to emphasize this decision here does not mean this is the architect that will take us through. Yes. So
I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that we were going straight to that. So can I just add briefly?
Oh yeah.
I did listen in on because of scheduling, I couldn't be involved in the Richley presentation, but I listened in on the SHP presentation, and just sort of from being present for one of them, I just wanted to add that I found it very thorough and very impressive, and but obviously have strong positive feelings about our past experience with Richley. So I just, just wanting to add, since we have one group that we've worked a lot with and one that we haven't, I felt that the group that we have not worked with in the past showed very positively. So thank you, and sorry for my confusion about the steps in this meeting.
No, thank you. Thank you. I just want to make sure everybody's questions are answered, or everybody has an opportunity to share comments. I think it's important. I appreciate your time having this special meeting, because really our timeline, the clock is ticking forward.
Right. So, Eric, can I ask, what's the, I'm sure this comes up, what's the dollar amount for the pre-bond? What's the timeline that they deliver this on?
So, we don't have a dollar amount yet. And that's important, I think, in talking to council and reading about this. I think it's important that some firms try to approach us as, hey, we're going to offer these services free. And I think that's a dangerous place to be. So once we decide, then it goes to council for a contract, for a pre-bond architect contract.
Okay, I got you. I didn't know that was part of the initial decision point. Did they had
No.
provider? Yeah.
No.
And then what's the timeline that they work under? The development facilities plan?
So with both of them, we really need to have a master facilities plan in place by, it's board approved by May. And the reason for that is that it then goes to the OFCC to be approved by their board of control. Then once that's done, that allows us to, in July, begin to file any paperwork that we need to file, and we know that we do, to be on the ballot in November, if that's the route we are going. Remember, with the ELPP, we're eligible for 26%. So once they approve us, that would be in July. Once they approve us, we have 1 year to raise the funds. Should things not go well initially in May election. If you are unable to raise the funds in 1 year, you fall off the list and you have to start again from ground zero. So that's why the timing concern.
Okay. No, that's perfect. Yep.
Well, let me ask a follow-up to that. We will come to a decision at this meeting. You will inform whatever firm be of that decision. Do they more or less start on January 2nd?
I would say they would start as soon as possible. Could be. I mean, it could really is once we get a contract. And I don't know, Tam, if you have any thoughts on this, but it's really, we just have to hit the ground running.
Okay, got it.
So is Tammy going to say something?
I don't know.
Well, yes, I can. There's probably going to be some pre-work that they'll be doing before the contract is finalized. But our goal is to have the contract finalized at the next board meeting, which is January. And then, like Terry said, it's, this is a full court press, full steam ahead from now on.
Anything else I can answer for anyone? Okay, all right. So it's going to be my recommendation, board, that we approve SHP as our pre-bond architect.
So I guess we've had a discussion of the merits of each of these. I think probably the next procedural thing to do would be to see if there is a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation to hire SHP as our pre-bond architect.
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion of that motion itself?
I guess just because I was involved with the previous process, I just want to give a shout out. I felt like we worked well with Richley and they offered us a lot. And we did interview SHP as well, and I was impressed with them also during that first round, and particularly around their student interface, as well as them having an education committee or subcommittee that they work with. I feel a little attached to Richley because we have a long-term relationship with them. And like I said, I think we worked well together, but I also feel open to a new process, and I think that might be good in terms of, the community and expectations for the community. So just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I would totally echo what Aida said. I even through the process, I had emailed Terry because I couldn't remember. I'm like, I really think we saw this other group in our group of whatever it was for maybe several years ago. And I felt positive about them then as well, but was also torn because I feel like we had excellent support and a good working relationship with Richley. But thank you for doing this.
Yep, agreed. Well, shall we call the roll on that then, please?
Khan,
Yes.
Merhemic,
Yes.
Ellison,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Well, look, this is terrific, and yes, I would also echo that I had a great experience working with Mike and his team at Richley, but I think going with a new point of view, a new process, a new perspective could be really valuable for us. I want to thank Terry and everybody, and Tammy and everybody else involved in getting us to this point as quickly and under the continuingly strained circumstances of COVID and whatnot. As Tammy just said, it's full steam ahead now, and I'm really excited to charge forward with new facilities planning. So, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Enjoy the rest of the holiday weekend. Happy New Year to everybody.
Thanks, everybody,
Thank
for your time. Happy New Year.